Hey everybody, welcome back for another Tool Time Tuesday. I'm Melissa Muir. In this video, I'm going to introduce you to the Durston bangle forming kit. So although it's not really a bangle forming kit, but I use it more for a cuff forming. And I really like this because I get to do some of my favorite things, which is use a hammer and form jewelry. So let's take a look at this tool now. When you receive this, it's got everything that you're going to need with the exception of your vise and of course your metal that you're going to be using. So first thing we have here is what they call a carrier rod, and you'll notice that I already have mounted onto this a couple of screws and washers. So what I want to do is I just take and I'll insert 2 of the washers onto each of the screws, and then I'm going to screw that into place. I will need a vise, and in this case I am using a Durston vise. This happens to be a 4-inch vise. It's adjustable, which I really like because I can reposition this, and you'll see the benefit of that here coming up in just a second. So what I'm going to do is I want 1 washer to be on the bottom and 1 washer to be on the top, and that's just going to protect both my screw head as well as the carrier rod itself. If I need to, I can just unscrew that screw head just a little bit, just enough to be able to slide this into place. Again, I'm going to move 1 washer up here on the top, slide that into place, and then if necessary I can tighten up this screw here. This does have a hex head, but really I can just do this by hand. It doesn't need much here. Once I have this into place, I'm just going to close up my vise jaw just to kind of hold that into place. I could then pull this up if necessary to tighten everything into place. Now it also comes with 2 of these clips. Now these here in the States are called cotter pins, and these are going to be used to hold our formers into place, and you'll see that here in just a moment. But let's take a quick look at the formers that come with this kit. Now we have 6 different formers. You'll notice that we have 3 larger and 3 smaller formers, and they each work together. So here I have just a plain cylindrical former, and then I have 2 different concave formers. So this is going to give me an anti-clastic form. We have a larger one, and then we have one that has a double that has 2 different sizes, and that is going to allow me to work on various widths of bracelets. So here I have created 2 different blanks that are different widths. So one is going to work really well with our wide, and then the other is going to work really well with one of the smaller ones, and I could have also made even a smaller one yet. Okay, so this gives us a little bit of variety that we can use. When I first receive these, they are going to be covered in an oil, so you'll just want to wipe that off. If you find that it's really bad, then you can use some kind of like a rubbing alcohol to wipe that off, but I usually just wipe it off with just a paper towel. To begin, I'm going to pick one of my formers, and I always start with one of my larger ones. Now, if I find that it doesn't fit quite well enough here, because I need to have access to one of those little holes where I can insert one of these clips. So I may need to loosen up my vise a bit and push my carrier rod over just slightly so that I can get that into there. So I'm going to tighten that back up, and now I can take this little clip and slip it into place like so. And now that is going to be held into place. Now remember, I told you that this vise is adjustable. Now this is going to be handy because if I were to put this right here and come in here and form, I'm going to be blocking your view with my hand and the hammer. So what I'm going to do is loosen up this vise here. I'm going to rotate this around so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. So I like that I have the ability to come in and tighten up and adjust where I am positioning this bracelet former. Now you'll notice here that I have a pattern on my metal. One of the cool things that they include is a plastic hammer. Now the plastic hammer is kind of nice. It is a bit rigid, but it's also going to be soft enough that it's not going to damage my pattern. In this case, this is not embossed. This is roll printed, so it's going to be a little bit more sturdy, and it's not going to damage my pattern when I come in here to hammer this. What I want to do is I want to place my metal here. Now, if you can see, there's a little bit of an air pocket right here, and that is where I want to strike. I want to strike that little air pocket, and as I strike, I'm going to be moving my bracelet forward, and I'm going to continue to strike that air pocket and form this bracelet around the mandrel. So I'm just going to come in and just very gently do this. Now, as I do this, you're gonna see some bouncing, and that's just because my camera is mounted to the same table that I'm hammering on, and I apologize for that. But everything really is quite sturdy at this point, so there is no real movement of my vise or this piece. Now, what's gonna happen is you're gonna see that I'm going to kind of pull this back and move this around a little bit as I do some of this forming, okay? And again, that goal is to bring this bracelet down and to the mandrel itself. And I want to do this until I come to about the halfway point. So now I'm about that halfway point. If you feel like you need to, you can come back in and really work this area in here, just so that everything is nice and uniform. And then I'm going to switch this around, and I'm going to do the same thing. Once you've got it to a point where you've kind of got a curve on this, you can bring your fingers around and hold this on both sides and continue to work in forming this part that's still flat. And when we're done, we should have pretty much a bracelet that forms to our mandrel here. I'm just going to slip that off, and when we look at this, you'll notice that it's pretty round. And that's great, except that our wrists are not round. We need this to be more of an oval. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this pin out, and we are going to swap this out for the smaller former. And again, I'm going to place that into there. Bring this back around so that I can form this. I'm going to slip this on here. Now, what I'm going to do this time is I'm only going to form the last quarter of this bracelet. And you can see here that now I've begun to tighten this up right here. So now I'm going to repeat the process on this side. And I'm going to continue to make adjustments to this until I have it even. All right, and now there is our cuff. So just like any tool, there is going to be a slight learning curve, but this one is a lot of fun. I would highly suggest that maybe you even try a few different hammers. There's a number of different ones that are out there, from plastic to metal to urethane, and each of them are going to do something a little different. I will say that the plastic hammer that they give you is made to fit into the grooves, and it works really well, and I have not found it to damage my pattern, which is really kind of desirable. Now, if you have an an embossed pattern, that could be something a little bit different rather than a roll printed pattern, because an embossed pattern is going to have negative spaces and that will be removed. Also, if you use a metal hammer with that, then again, you would be removing or damaging a texture. So some of those things you just need to kind of keep in mind when you are forming a piece with a mandrel like this and a hammer. Now, I didn't show you guys the cylindrical one, but I figured that was kind of pretty straightforward after showing you how to use our convex formers. If you guys have any questions at all, like always, just make sure you leave them down in the comment section. If you like my video, make sure you give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring that bell so that you make sure you get those notifications when I put out new videos. I will see you guys next time. Have a wonderful week.